Right now, I am going for introducing the session 2 for today's session. I hope my voice is audible, no, sir? Audience, it is okay, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. So today we are going to have the speaker for the day. Mr. Visagan Sai Kumar is the founder and the CEO of Pipebeam Electric. The sir has completed his bachelor from CET and completed his master from IIT Madras in entrepreneurial studies. To facilitate his professional endeavors, he stepped into the world of EVs. He started the company called Pipebeam Electric. It is one of the end-to-end micro mobility EV solution company with data-driven analytics, maintaining the green premium being the forefront of the company vision. His persistent drive and vision for a brighter and sustainable future drove him to build a company that echoes the same sentiment. His impeccable work ethic and ability to juggle the multiple roles has allowed him to flourish in arena. He put his mind into the EV technology. So with this short introduction, I was very happy to invite Visagan Sai Kumar for this session. I am requesting on behalf of NSIC Technical Center, I am requesting Visag Sai Kumar sir, the CEO of Pipebeam Electric, to take the session and to enlighten our audience, especially in the areas of EV challenges as well as business opportunities which is available in this EV technology. So thank you for giving your time for us, sir. And without taking further delay, I'll be handing over the session to you, sir. You can take over the session from here, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, sir. So I'm Vishak. So very happy to be here to address this EV enthusiast group, as in everyone I know that are interested in knowing more about EVs. So right now, this is one major area that is flourishing like anything. So I would also like this to be more interactive. So anyone needs to ask anything, you can stop me. So maybe first I'll give my introduction and then start off. So in between, if you have any doubts, you can put the questions in the message box, or you can stop me also if you want to, or we can have a question and answer session separately. Whatever way this is arranged, it is okay for me. I don't have a problem even if you stop me in between. Starting off, so I run a company called Pipebeam Electric. So we have a vision of building small and efficient electric vehicles. So it started as a pure manufacturing electric vehicle company. So the vision here was, so we have seen a lot of vehicles that are running on the ground. Majorly, it is IC engine oriented ICE vehicles. We call it ICE vehicle. So this is creating a lot of pollution, and at the same time, the petrol cost or the diesel cost is increasing. So this is where now EV as an industry is highlighted by everyone. So we were working on this technology maybe say 7 years back, when we were not thinking about such a situation where people will talk about EVs in public forum like this. So we had a vision of building these vehicles, smaller vehicles, because we felt the entire automobile industry is working on a particular philosophy where you build the vehicle for masses. So you build a vehicle and ask everyone to use it. So there is no distinction between an application that this vehicle is going to be used for. To give an example, even if you're going for a 1 kilometer travel from point A to point B, you might use your car and you might be the single person who is inside the car. So this for me is personally is a waste of, say, resources. So you need to travel in such a way that where it is required, you need a particular small vehicle. If you require to take 3-4 people, then it is fine to come on a car. So this was the thought process that with which Pipebeam Electric started designing the products, and especially when we use a vehicle that is designed for passenger applications and then convert that into an application for load carrying, it has a lot of inefficiencies. So this is the basic thought process which led to developing Pipebeam, and our motto has always been building small and efficient vehicles. So we started with a vehicle called solar pedal assisted three-wheeler. So every one of you might have seen tricycles which are running in the market or moving materials inside the factories. So these tricycles are highly inefficient because of 2-3 reasons. So one is that braking efficiency is very poor, and it is not, once it is loaded, you can't even pedal it over a flyover. So these two problems were creating a lot of health issues to the person who was driving it. So the first product thought process was how to ease the person who is pedaling these vehicles, to ensure that a vehicle is developed for with more efficiency as well as less economical compared to more economical compared to what is available in the market. This was the thought process in which we decided to build a solar powered three-wheeler and which can carry around 300 kg load. So when we started building this one vehicle, we understood that one, there is no way these vehicles can come to mainframe because of a lack of regulation of these vehicles. So we don't have a pedal assisted three-wheeler which is regulated. So we started looking at what are the applications that these vehicles can be used. So some of the applications we ventured into was garbage collection, moving materials inside factory. So moving, these vehicles were converted into food trucks. So this was my first experiment with EVs to build an electric three-wheeler. Then we started dealing about looking at market. So the market was huge and we were just building just one vehicle and then trying to solve a smaller problem. So that's when we decided to expand our vision and understand that we are in a micro mobility market, which requires a lot of similar vehicles. It can be three-wheeler, two-wheeler. So we are basically sector agnostic, and we are not looking at which sector to deal with on the EV. So EVs are required everywhere, and it requires a particular form factor for different applications. So we wanted to build vehicles, EVs, especially for micro mobility market. This was the vision with which Pibeam went forward after the first product. So now we have an electric three-wheeler, we have an electric two-wheeler, which is again utility oriented, which can be used for deliveries, which can be used for personal commute. Now we are working on a third electric three-wheeler, which is an e-cart, and one more vehicle, which is e-auto. And we have multiple variants of electric two-wheelers coming up. So we are now building a family of vehicles. And the business model has always been initially to sell these vehicles to the people directly. So we didn't go for a dealership model. We were selling these products directly. So this was the time period I'm talking about, say 2016, 2017 times. But sitting in 2021, the market has completely changed. The demand has rose to a level where we are seeing EV demands everywhere, but at the same time, the EV adoption is not happening at the rate at which we are looking at. So we have been talking about converting the entire nation into EV vehicles at the end of 2030. But sadly, at this point, the EV adoption rate is less than 1%. So this 1% is very minute compared to the overall automobile industry that we have. And this is not, if we are going in this way forward, by 2030, we will not even cross say 10-15%. So this is a thought process where we thought the opportunities are there, demands are there, everyone is talking about converting into EVs, but something is wrong in the whole industry. Right? So there are people who have come with their products. There are people who need to use this for services. But we looked at what are the major reasons why EV is not getting adopted. So one is we are not seeing EVs like IC engine vehicles. So there is always a shift that needs to happen. So right now, even if you go out, you will see mostly cars and two-wheelers running on IC engines. So the trust factor for people to buy an EV is still not there. So that is one major reason. The second one, as everyone knows, there are a lot of range anxieties on these vehicles because it is not giving a consistent range based on the temperature, based on the terrain, it varies. So a lot of challenges are there to make people aware that EV is the way to go. But at the same time, when we start using EVs, the economic sense is far, far higher than the IC engines. So how do we go about this and increase the EV adoption? So our entire vision is towards increasing EV adoption. And for that, we have looked at different business models. So selling is one way, but what we have got to know about this industry in the last 2 to 3 years, working with major B2B players, they are not going to buy the EVs for their operations because they want to be asset light and they want others to offer this as a service. So when somebody is offering it as a service, there is a lot of capital expenses that is required for that company to provide these vehicles on rent. So that is why the EV adoption is not happening. And only if you start seeing B2B EV adoption, people like us individuals will start believing in EVs. So unless you see a lot more vehicles on the ground, the people will not understand that, okay, EV has come to the mainstream, and then we can also start buying those EVs. So till then, it is only early adopters who are buying EVs, and that is why the numbers are low. So for Pibeam, it has always been working on utility market for logistics as well as commute. So we are not in a performance vehicle category. So we are not competing with, say, the likes of Ather, Hero, where they are looking at passenger vehicles. So we are now focused more on utility vehicles, where these vehicles can be used for multiple applications in logistics and commute. So it can be, say, deliveries, it can be shared rental models. So these are some of the new avenues that have come up in the last 2 to 3 years, where people are shifting their mindset. So let's get to let's think about how all of us have started using Uber and Ola. Earlier, it was not a fashion. It was mostly private car or rental cars. But these on-demand cars have changed our lifestyle, and people have now moved to that. And COVID has brought us back to a level where now we are also not looking at getting into a shared cab with another person who we don't know whether he is infected or not. So things have changed, but at the same time, if you see, the lifestyle of convenience is always there. So right now there is a trend that people don't want to own these vehicles. In Europe and US, there is a leaseback model that is already prevalent, and nobody buys the vehicle there because every year we can change the car. So here, once you buy a car, it is for 4 years, 5 years, and you're stuck with that car. So this mindset is coming to Indian automobile system also. So that is why people are now, instead of owning the car, they are trying to rent it out, or they're trying to use these shared mobility vehicles. So this is a change which has brought a lot of changes in business models. So now the demand is coming from the rental and operations model rather than sales. So sales will get affected when the showrooms are closed due to COVID or whatever. But the rental model or the B2B model will always sustain because it is online and it is also service based. So it won't be, and it is all connected to essential delivery side, which you cannot stop even if a pandemic comes. So this is a different kind of say business model that has come up in EV side recently, and it is now growing at a rate that is far higher than how the sales is growing on the EV side. So this has helped us to get more into the application side, and for these people there are multiple requirements on the same vehicle. So as a manufacturer or a design company, we can build those requirements, especially the kind of accessories they want to use for a particular application. We can design and build it on top of our vehicle. That flexibility we have because we are being a manufacturer also. So it is very difficult to combine a manufacturing plus a service industry together. So if you just divide the industry into three, you will have manufacturers, you will have service players, and there is a third kind that is coming up, which is a hybrid business model, where you have control on the product, but at the same time you don't get into the cash, the kind of cash flow issues that we will face when you are a manufacturing company. So you will try to mitigate that cash flow issues in this hybrid model by contract manufacturing these vehicles with the help of a manufacturer who is ready to work with you to build the product. So you will have the design and control of the product, but at the same time you will also have so you will be able to get the service model running and operations model running. So this will help you in getting the best of two worlds. But at the same time, it is unless you know EVs and unless you know how to build EVs, you will not be able to do this business model properly. So that's a risk that everyone has to take if they have to be working on this business model. And it is normally it is capex heavy, where you need to bring vehicles, you need to build vehicles and then operate and rent it out and get the revenue back. But there are different business models, like there are sale and lease back models which has come to the system, where you sell the product to one particular investor and investor lease it back to you. so that there is lesser amount of cash flow issues as a company that you are facing. But operations is always a headache, and you need tech to handle the operations. You need web platforms, you need apps to ensure that the scale up of this particular business model happens. So this is what my experience with EVs have been till now. So right now we have been working with a lot of major e-commerce players. We have been working with a lot of say food delivery players. So these are like pilots that are run by us to scale it up to a larger level. And at the same time, we are selling these products individually for use cases which is pertaining to personal use case, right? So that is also one level we are working on. So we are a hybrid company with a design knowledge, plus we build the products up to a level where, and after that the manufacturing is outsourced, and then we again bring it back to the system for leasing it back and then operating it with these players. So this is a business model that is emerging, and then in the next 4 to 5 years the demand is going to be very high. So right now the data shows in last mile logistics by 2030 we will have around 9 million EVs, which is running only for last mile logistics. So this is a huge number, and if we are getting there to this point, what it means is if you can build 9 lakh, if you can put 9 million vehicles on the road, so this will also give the public a kind of trust to EVs, and they'll start buying their own EVs for their personal use cases. So this is how you can actually increase the EV adoption. So you need to get a start. You cannot always ask people to buy EVs and then start using, unless you take a B2B route and people are seeing EVs. Unless then the people will not trust EVs and people will not start buying it. So the way is like you have to put smaller and efficient vehicles onto the system, and you cannot at one day replace all the cars, but you can always put some new vehicles into the system and then slowly replace these vehicles. Example, auto rickshaws. The electric three-wheelers cannot replace autos at once. You need to slowly start putting the electric three-wheelers on par with auto rickshaws, and then slowly you have to phase it out. Because currently what is the problem is everyone has invested in IC engines, and even the manufacturers have invested in IC engines. So how do they completely shift to electric without without facing a loss, right? So either these are two different technologies. The way engine is assembled, you cannot assemble a motor, and the number of parts in EVs compared to an IC engine is far different. So we use very less number of components in EVs, and that means that the allied vendors that are working with these manufacturers will lose jobs. So we cannot make that change without considering these people. So we need to upskill these people on EV technology. For example, when we go deeper into EV technology, we might get away with this the normal MS chassis that we are working on. We might go to aluminum chassis. So when we go to aluminum chassis, the amount of skills required for welding it or say working with that metal, most of the vendors in India or the current manufacturing vendors might not have it. So how do we upskill these people to that level? Batteries is something where most of the people don't have a proper knowledge on. So how do we upskill these people to battery technology? Then if there is a problem with the motor, or how do you repair the motors? So these are some of the skills that is necessary in the system if we are going to convert this into a complete EV nation. So I feel that it should not be just like putting vehicles on the ground. We should give a priority to the service, building up the vendors for this ecosystem, and also different business models. Don't always try selling these products to the people. So renting out, subscription based. So these are the models that will gain confidence of the people. So instead of buying it at the full cost, you can say we'll rent it out at say 2,000 rupees per month for an EV. And after 3 months, 4 months, if you don't like the product, you just stop the subscription. So that way, people will be more confident to use these vehicles. Unless you start using these vehicles and unless they start seeing the savings of EVs, they will not come forward and then start buying the product. And a lot of people, as in students, are now coming out of the colleges and they don't have a proper EV syllabus inside their curriculum. So that is one thing that we would have to start right from now, because otherwise people will come studying the old technology and then come to the industry and see that everything has changed. So this way we need to ensure that we do the necessary upskilling for EV industry, and at the same time you should start from B2B and go slowly towards B2C. B2C will always be there, but to accelerate that, B2B is the way to initially accelerate, and then that will trickle down to B2C, where every one of us will own an EV in the future. So I'll open it to all of you to start asking questions. So based on the questions, we can take this discussion forward.
So audience, participants, my thing is better to post your question. So what are the things you are having doubts related to the technical as well as entrepreneurs skills, anything if you're having, you can post your questions so the sir can able to answer the thing. This session we have planned such a way that to have the interactive session so that it will be giving knowledge based sharing will be there. So I'm requesting audience, can you post your question, or you can unmute your mic and you can directly interact with the sir also.
Hello.
We are able to hear you. Someone is asking, sir. You can go ahead, sir, please.
Sir, yeah, myself Narsimlu, sir. It was really an informative session, sir. One thing I could able to understand is that we need to see that we use the EV vehicles in a subscription model. So while for giving subscription model, there are challenges like what we have experienced with the Bonds mobile bikes. They give to anyone, but I have seen most of the Bonds vehicles left over in the outskirts of the cities and some burns and everything. So how do you are facing these challenges, sir? Voice is not audible, sir.
Sir, voice is not audible, sir. You muted, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there is a definite challenge in that particular model, like Bounds or places where you're renting out to public and public can start the vehicle from anywhere and put it anywhere. So this is something that we cannot do right away. So how we are trying to mitigate this challenge is we are only giving a proper rental service, say 1 day or a week or a month. So it is a responsibility of the person who rents it out, and then he has to come back and give it to the same place. So India at this point is not a completely conducive system for putting this in public and operating it in public, because we have a lot of variabilities that we cannot handle that now. So that is why we are focusing more on B2B side, where we are well connected with the companies, and then they have some people who are responsible for this particular operation. And at the same time, if you are even giving to public, we are tying up with, say, hotels, we are tying up with, say, small shops who will be renting it out. So it's not a place where we just put the vehicle somewhere and someone can take the vehicle and then put it anywhere. So this will be prone to a vandalism which in a scale which will just burn money of a company. So we are not looking at that particular level of deployment. We are looking at controlled deployment, which will give us much more clarity on who is using the vehicle, how is using the vehicle, and how the vehicle is coming back. So there are companies like Zoomcar and others who just rent out the vehicles. So those renting is controlled because you have a security deposit to be paid, and once you are coming back with the vehicle, they will check all the vehicle components and they will check whether it is riding properly. Then only you will get the security deposit back. So this is the only way to initially start off. So slowly, once people start looking at it, and then we have a lot more technology coming into play where it is foolproof, then you can give it to a public use case.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So there was a question in the chat box also. I'll be reading the question, sir.
Okay.
Do you think that EV hybrid vehicle model will change the mindset of IC engine customer?
EV hybrid vehicle model.
Yes, sir. Do you think that EV hybrid vehicle model will change the mindset of IC engine customer?
Okay, so I am a firm believer that there is no customer called IC engine customer or a EV customer. The people are looking at moving from point A to B. Right now, it was only IC engines which was available to them. So that is why they have bought the vehicles. So for anyone who's going to buy a vehicle, their use case will be the first thing they look at, whether what is the kind of kilometers that I'll travel. So right now, so we believe in a shrinking world, like everyone start moving closer towards their offices. They travel less nowadays. And if they're traveling a far distance, it will be in a flight or a train, those kind of vehicles. So driving down is something which we do once in a while. So for all the other purposes, we use a bigger car. So in this way, I would say there is a specific requirement for micromobility EVs. And at the same time, it depends on the mindset change depends on two things. So everyone likes the idea of EVs. They have certain doubts and constraints in their mind. So one is the range and the other one is the kind of cost that is associated with an EV. So mostly at this time, if you are looking at an equivalent performance of an EV with an IC engine, the price is going to be higher, but subsidies have reduced the pricing a little bit. So this will basically change the mindset of the people to even look at EVs compared to the previous times. So right now it is a good time to look at EVs, and definitely the mindset of the people will change if availability of the vehicles are there and then reliability of the vehicles there. So that is not the challenge. The challenge is from asking them to buy. So buying is a model that we are looking at for an individual customer. They will take a lot of time and they'll not be forthcoming at this point unless they see a lot more vehicles in the market.
Okay, good, sir. Any more questions from the audience? So I'm having one small question from you, sir. Shall I ask you, sir?
Yes, sure.
So actually, when we are saying about the integration or we are manufacturing the EV vehicle, the principal element will be the major element will be your motor, motor as well as your controller as well as your battery pack. So whether these components, everything can be manufactured in-house, or still we want to get the components from other countries, especially the China is dominating. So how it is actually is happening, because you also doing the manufacturing. How we are mitigating this kind of challenges, and how we are doing yourself? Can you elaborate on these things, sir?
So when you look at certain components, like say we are looking at batteries, the cells are something that we don't have a control on because there is no proper cell manufacturer in India right now. There are 2-3 companies who are working on it, but it's not like readily available. It's not in production properly for us to get hold of it. So cells and the other parts in a battery pack can be built in India, and we build it here in India. So that is not a challenge right now. The challenge is going to be on getting the cells and in motors. So if you're using a magnet motor, then the magnets, especially the rare earth magnets, come from China. So there are magnetless motors that have come in the market, but it has not been used, and so it is not tried for a long time in EV. So we have to do a lot of testing with those kind of motors. So if we have a magnetless motor, then we can basically do it in India also. And being Coimbatore is one of the biggest hub for BLDC motors and especially EV motors. So we have the capability of building a motor, but at the same time, we need to figure out what is the cost involved. So in China, it is a different case where they produce it in millions, and they also have all the raw materials available. For us, raw materials is also a problem, and volume is also a problem. So unless we get into a volume that is sustainable, we will not find a manufacturer coming and then building the motors in a large scale. So other parts are like all other parts are made in India, or we can make it in India. So these are 2 critical parts which is very difficult for us to manufacture. But at the same time, there are people coming from outside and setting up say motor manufacturing units and lithium cell manufacturing units. So hopefully in the future, in the next 2 to 3 years, we will see a lot of cell manufacturing to be stabilized in India. Motor side, yeah, so we will have different types of motor. The BLDC motor per se, we don't have the raw material available in India. We might have to always rely on China unless we move to a different kind of motor. So we have been building almost 90% of the components here in India, as in Chennai and the local areas, but we are dependent on certain like motor. Currently we are working with few Indian players, but in large scale we are not getting it from the Indian manufacturers as well. And cells, definitely there is no other go other than to import right now.
So that means we can say that as of now, for battery cells, still we have been getting depending on the other countries, especially China. For for case of motors, still there is a potential we can get it from Indian market. I'm correct, sir?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So I am having a 2-3 question from my end. So I was expecting that question from the audience. Then finally I can ask my question.
Hello, sir. This is Devendra Gowda, sir.
Yes, sir. Devendra Gowda, you can proceed, sir, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I'm basically from academic. I think you are very good. Maybe you can give good input for our academics. Actually, we are providing for student like honor degree, means regular electrical engineering plus honor degree, maybe electrical or electronic, sorry, mechanical school. So in this contest, sir, we developed some of the syllabus regarding of electrical vehicle, starting from fundamental to testing and standards. Okay. So actually now that we are come up with the testing and standards, sir. So as per your knowledge and your experience regarding testing and standards, so where we have to refer for proper input for academician to deliver maybe that will be good for student for maybe enlightening that knowledge. So if you have any guidelines, maybe we are referring, there are some of the institutes like ERA and Delhi, and there are 2-3 websites we are referring. Still, if you have any like content oriented, or these are the minimum thing the students should know, those who are going to pass out as a like honor degree in EV. So if you have no, sir, please let me know from your answer.
Yeah, sure. So definitely right now the standards of EV has been derived from the normal motor vehicle standards. Okay. So AIS standards is what we follow for testing. And if you look at from AIS standards, there are certain things that will never change even if it is EV or an IC engine vehicle. But there are specific tests for EVs that we need to have as an add-on, which is provided by ARI kind of say testing institutes. So it is always better to have a tie-up with ARAI or people like GARC in Chennai who is working on the testing standards. So so there are component level testing as well as there is a vehicle level testing. So for component level testing, mostly so OEMs won't get into component level testing because they ask the vendors to do the testing, and then we do the vehicle level testing. The syllabus, so I would say it would be better if you start from the component level testing and then come to the vehicle level test. And there are different categories of EVs that needs to be tested. So for example, the vehicle standards, which says the vehicle can be less than 25 km/h and less than say 250 watts of motor power in two-wheelers. So that is one particular category which will have lesser number of tests. So as you cross those two numbers, 250 watts and greater than 25 km/h speed, then you get into a much more stringent testing procedures. So for that, when you get into that level, you have to rely upon AIS standards for automobiles plus the EV related standards. And as you have to also ensure that as the voltage of the system goes higher, then also the standards change. After 72 volts is the high volt system for Indian standards. So then it becomes much more complicated to do the testing. So especially there are a lot of standards that you have to refer from say charger perspective as well as the battery perspective. So these are two major areas which will come into the electric vehicle standards. Others are mostly connected with the automobile standards. So motor and battery testing will have to be also taken separately.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Devendra Gowda, sir, I hope you got the answer.
Yes, thank you.
I think there was Veeramani is trying to ask something. So any more questions from the audience? So you are most welcome. So let us have some discussion on this thing. So there was a question in the chat box. I'll be reading the question, sir. Sir, can you refer any testing agencies in India on EV component?
Yeah, so as I said, ARA is there, ICAT is there, GARC is there. So these are the three major testing agencies that do component level testing. And there are some government approved labs which can do separate testing for batteries and say motors separately.
So when coming to the actually recently I met one of the MSME vendor in our office. Actually they have been manufacturing the local retrofitting as well as doing that autos. For autos, actually he said that when he went for testing for his vehicle in ICAT, say they're charging almost 7 lakhs. He's saying. So whether the whether rate has been fixed by the government of India for testing, sir, any kind of charges are there for testing, sir? Yeah, so every test that we undertake in these agencies, they charge us, but it depends on. So there are two different types of charging. So one is so pre-approval test and the approval test. So pre-approval test will be less costly, where you'll not get a certificate. You can, once you build something, you can see whether it is passing the test before you go for an actual test. But all these machines they are using are costly, and then their major revenue part is by charging these people who are coming for testing. So even though it is government approved agencies, you have to pay them, and then only you'll have to do. So even for getting a certification for a vehicle, you have to completely pay them on all the component level testing as well as the whole vehicle level testing. Sir, okay, I think because that the cost is because if you're seeing the cost is 7 lakhs, that people are the manufacturer really thinking to go further, because they have to. If you are going for bulk manufacturing, then this cost can be adjusted. If you're going for 1 or 2 products and it is not fast moving, means then it will be really a financial burden for the industries. Correct, sir? Yes, definitely. So you have to have a business plan for very large numbers. Then only you can certify a product. Yeah. So any more questions? Currently, if you want to just understand the performance, you can use the labs, the college labs and stuff to get a basic idea. But if you want a proper testing to be done, then you have to go to this particular agency, these particular agencies itself. Because when the vehicle is moving in the road, definitely we have to ensure that the vehicle has to be tested in the certified lab and should have certificate. Yes. Then only it can be approved to run in the road. Otherwise, it can be a problem for the thing, and they can stop they can seize the vehicle also. Correct, sir? Yes. Yes. So I want to, as academic interest, I am asking, recently you have been launched that pipe beam electrical vehicle. Why can't you give some idea about the vehicle which has been done by you? What is the range and what is the thing? Can you give some specification so that our audience can also get some input about the vehicle which has been done by you, sir? Can you give some? So PIMO is a vehicle which is just above electric bicycle and below electric scooter category. So it's built especially for comfort, where people doesn't have to pedal and then move, or the scooter level. If you go to a plastic level design, then it becomes too costly for a person to say buy the product. So we wanted something in the similar range of an electric bicycle. So we started, the inaugural offer was 30,000. Now we have moved to 35,000, because even then we are not making much money on this product. But at the same time, we are looking at increasing the EV deployment as well as the adoption. So we are looking at selling large number of vehicles rather than selling few vehicles at a higher price. And these vehicles have something which is adapted from a motorcycle and a cycle together. So it's a combination of a motorcycle with a normal cycle. So it has the swing arms which we see in motorcycles normally, where you have a suspension and the entire wheel, the rear wheel set can be moved up and down when you go into a pit pothole or hump. So this gives you a basic comfort on the suspension side, and your back will not get the hit when you're getting into these kind of situations. So this is one additional thing we have done on this vehicle. And then the seating is also a large seat compared to a cycle seat. So it's a comfortable large seat for anyone to ride. And as well as this vehicle gives a range of, so our tested range is 50 kilometers. So it depends on where you're using it. If you're using it on a hilly area, the range will be less. But at the same time, so we get an
on an average around 40 kilometers to move in a single charge, and a single charge will cost you only half a unit of charge, which is maybe around 5-6 rupees. So this is something where you can use it for your personal use case, from moving from point A to point B, from your house to office if it is closer. So now we have a lot of people who have bought the vehicle, as well as now we are using this vehicle for doing deliveries for people like Udaan, which is a larger e-commerce company, Fasus, which is a delivery company. So we use all these vehicles for the deliveries as well. So the delivery drivers basically use these vehicles because it is very economical for them compared to a petrol or diesel vehicle. So yeah, this is majorly about PIMO, and it's a lithium NMC category battery which is swappable. You can take the battery out and charge it at your home, or you can use the vehicle itself to charge it. You just need a 5 amps normal plug point to charge it.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you for briefing this thing. So I'm looking some kind of a question from the audience so that we can make it to the next level. So we'll have another 10 minutes of discussion, sir. Sure. It's okay for you, sir?
Yes, yes.
So audience, if you're having any kind of questions, you can directly unmute your mic and you can talk to the subject expert, please. So okay, sir. Again, I was having the question. I was listed some of the couple of questions in my thing. I'll be asking one more question from my end, sir. Actually, when you're going for comparison of IC engine and this electric vehicle, if you're going for IC engine, the regular maintenance will be there, as we have to go for lubrication and it has to be done in periodic way. When coming to the electrical vehicle, since we have to, what are the things we have to take care, because we are in initial stage of in electric vehicle. So any kind of any guidelines from your point of view. So for batteries, we have to go for this kind of maintenance. For motor, this kind of maintenance. Whether any standard protocol has been arrived for electrical vehicle, especially for two-wheeler segment, or any guidelines has been issued by the any competent authority for maintaining these things, sir?
Yeah, so there is no proper protocol that has been built, because it depends on vehicle to vehicle, and the battery sizes versus the battery type also changes. So every manufacturer will give you some instructions, for example, how to charge this battery. So that is the major maintenance that is required for the vehicle. You need to ensure that the battery has a battery is charged properly and it has a self discharge. So if you keep it without charging for 2 months, 3 months, it goes to a deep discharge state and it is difficult to revive the battery again. So this is one thing that every manufacturer will advise, to keep it charging when you're going out of town or you're not using the vehicle. Then another thing is, so the range of the vehicle, and since it is like electric charging and you don't have the flexibility of putting a petrol kind of fuel into this, you will always have to be worried about whether properly. So you need to have a regular check of anything which is loose or any alignment issues, because those will get converted into a range issue. If your wheel is not aligned properly, your range will become less. Your motor will work a little hard, motor will get heated up, then it will get into the controller. So it slowly affects all the systems. So ensure that there's a proper air maintained on the vehicle, because that is one of the major complaints that we get whenever there is a range issue. We will look at the air pressure. If the air pressure drops, and if you are driving without air pressure, then the range will come down. So these are some of the things that needs to be kept in mind, and there is no maintenance protocol as like a IC engine two-wheeler. So that is one of the major advantage of EVs as well. The maintenance is very less, and that again is hitting the maintenance and service industry. So usually manufacturing company and the kind of dealer for the manufacturing company makes more money on service. So here that service revenue is going to be lesser for these people.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for briefing the thing.
Sir, I have one question. Myself,
Yes,
Tushar. Sir, I want to know that everyone is going to make the rear wheel drive. Usually make whatever
Tushar Patel, sir, your voice is not clear, sir.
engine will be there. Every bike will be there. Bike will be there.
Tushar Patel, sir, your voice was not clear.
hear you. It's a background noise.
यार अकाउंट्स वाले से ना एसपी सिंह से सुरेश सर से कंफर्म करना। देखो मैं चाहता हूँ कि 100 रुपए के लिए ना किसी को
So, Vinny sir, can you
एनईएफटी ना
keep your
करना
mic
पड़े,
side,
या
please?
तो स्कैन बारकोड वाला, या तो बारकोड ले लो या पेटीएम ले लो। अब पेटीएम मैंने लेके देखा है कि पेटीएम में भी दिक्कत है। अच्छा, जो इन्होंने दिया है मेरे को, अब अगर मैं इस पे पेटीएम करूँगा।
So, Tushar Patel,
Hello.
can you,
Yes,
your
sir.
question was not clear. Can you brief it
Can
clearly?
we make a hybrid bike for, you can say, rear wheel can be drive on IC engine as we have now, and front wheel can be operated on e-bike?
There is no problem in making. There are people who are making it, but the problem is it is going to add a lot more inefficiencies because cost goes up for sure because two different systems are working. And the second one is like the maintenance also have issues because you have an IC engine part. So overall the system efficiency comes low. So compared to, so that is why people are not moving towards electric. So you have to decide whether it is electric or IC engine. So you cannot be in between is what my take on this is.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this thing. Any more question from the audience, please? Academics, and if you want to get clarified, you can most welcome to ask the thing. So there was a question in the chat box. How to design the battery management system? That is a question asked by the participant. It's a generic question. How to design the battery management system?
Okay. One second. Hello. Yeah, so that's a very large topic on how to design a battery management system. So it should be based on your what is your configuration of the battery that is required. So it can be, so we generally call it as a series parallel configuration. So if it is a 14S5P kind of configuration, so every battery management system is designed for how many cells are there in series. So you'll have to connect all the series cells to the battery management system. So you have to design it for certain applications in the cell. So you have to look at cell balancing. There are multiple number of cells that are available. So you need to ensure that the battery management system is capable of doing cell balancing. That is, every cell has to be charged and discharged in an equal way. So if one battery is having a difference in charge while charging, the other batteries has to come to that level and then charge the entire cells together. So there are a lot of sensors that gets into battery management systems to look at voltage, current, temperature of the pack. So these are the basic things you should start with, from what is your configuration, what is the capacity you need, and how many series cells are there. So I think getting into a deeper level of discussion, I think it won't be enough for this session to get into that at this point.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So there was one more question from the audience, sir. I shall be reading the question. What kind of welding process will be in features for battery life? It is a question asked by Vinod Kumar.
Normally they use a spot welding technique. So that is majorly used in all the prototyping kind of batteries that we do. So there are resistance welding and there are multiple welding techniques, but it depends on the cells you are using and the kind of battery packs that you are building and for what application. So it has a lot of intricacies on this particular kind of welding technique based on your application. So normally it is spot welding.
Okay.
For
Sir,
battery management design, there are a lot of papers available in the internet where other universities have studied, and so those will give only a basic idea. But if you want to build a management system, it is going to be, you have to start working on a completely new design based on a battery pack that you have.
So any more question from the audience? So, I'm having 2 questions, sir. I'll be asking after this question. So I'm having.
Good afternoon, sir. Is it audible?
Yes, audible, sir. You can go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Rajesh.
From EV point of view, sir, our important thing is the power requirement, sir. If EV technology we are developing these days, we require more power to charge the batteries. In this aspect, from Indian scenario, at what time we will be developed for accepting those EVs, sir? Because if at a stretch we go from IC to EV, we require more power supply to charge, so it will be burden on the grid. So in that aspect, when will India be ready for accepting EV based vehicles, electric based vehicles?
Yeah, so the effect on grid is something that everyone talks about, but I would definitely say that we can start off from a point where right now we are not utilizing our electric grid properly. Like, it is not efficiently used, and still the electric grid can actually take more EVs at this point. We are using multiple accessories, right? So I'm talking about, say, smaller vehicles of say 0.5 unit to 1 unit. So your refrigerator itself will take 1 unit a day. So this is something like an appliance. So if you are looking at large buses and cars, yeah, we need to have more infrastructure to be done. But otherwise, it is like people are buying more appliances and then they're charging it everywhere. So it will be, so micro mobility vehicles will not put a larger problem on the grid. But when you look at, say, large battery packs and large cars, we need a proper infrastructure to be done. So that is what I think people are now looking at, how to increase the capacity. I think there is a question from Malladi Lakshma. How driving cycle affect on energy management system of a vehicle with multiple sources switching? So mostly we are looking at a Indian drive cycle, and once the drive cycle changes, for example, European drive cycle will give you a different efficiency. So we call it as watt hour per kilometer in these driving cycles. So in Indian driving cycle, it will be lesser range, whereas in European driving cycle, it will give much more range because of the kind of start-stop requirements for the vehicle. So it is definitely going to affect the number of start-stops of the vehicle and the kind of terrain that we are working on. So it is going to be different, definitely having a huge impact on the energy management or energy efficiency of the entire system. So sediments in the bottom side of the battery, how it affects its life. So
that is a sediment in the bottom side of battery, how it affects this life. Also, what are the sediments or deposit available?
Yeah, so I'm not completely sure. Only thing I can comment on this is when there is a sediment deposition, the thermal side of the battery pack gets affected, because as a battery pack, if the thermal side is getting affected, the life cycle is going to come down. So that is why as you have the cells getting aged, at that time the thermal side or the heating of the battery pack becomes more prominent, and the life cycle also gets reduced. So other than that, I have not come across deposits of sediments.
So I'll be asking one more question from my end, sir. Actually, when coming to the payload, actually when driving
So for a designer, the problem is we are designing it for a particular load. If somebody is trying to load more than that, there will be a heating problem that happens, and the motor tries to draw more current. And where we are trying to mitigate that is we cut off the using controller, we cut off the power to the motor when it is overloaded. So we can understand that it is getting overloaded, or the controller will allow to pass through only a particular ampere of current. And if it is higher than that, motor is asking for higher than that, then we can always sense that and cut it off. So designing it for what application, the design engineers face a lot of challenge in figuring out what load, how the motor has to be designed, because most of the time people tend to overload in these loading applications. So we always give a certain level of, say, increased load capacity, but we never tell it in the design, the specs of the vehicle, because otherwise the vehicle is prone to failure once it is hitting the market.
Okay. So there was question in the chat box, sir. Can you look it, sir?
And two-wheeler, what kind of batteries will be in future? So we are seeing a lot of change happening in lithium ion industry. Lithium iron phosphate has now moved to lithium NMC chemistry, which is nickel, manganese, cobalt. And then there are people who are using, say, titanium based lithium batteries also. So these are chemistry changes in lithium, but there are 2-3 technologies which we are closely watching, that is aluminum air battery and zinc air batteries, especially metal air batteries. That is going to reduce the range anxiety, and then you can basically charge it by just removing the material and then putting a material back. So electrodes can be replaced. So this technology is something which is evolving. And fuel cell is something which we have been seeing for a long time, as in the industry is talking about it, but due to cost factors and due to the safer way of handling hydrogen, this has not come to the mainframe. But we are definitely seeing a lot of people who are investing in fuel cells, especially Honda is one company which has started, which has moved from lithium and then started working only on fuel cells now. So a lot of things are happening in these two areas. So we definitely feel that solid state lithium batteries are also one of the new technologies that is coming up. So lithium, we will say that, okay, in the next 4-5 years, we will start seeing other technologies coming and taking its place.
So continues the same thing. Actually, we are also seeing the comparison of batteries and supercapacitor. So whether any kind of research are going in practical adapting supercapacitors, sir, as you said, no, right now fuel cells are there. No? Whether any at your end any option of trying the supercapacitor, sir? So
supercapacitors for our kind of vehicles is an overkill. Maybe for larger vehicles it can be used. For smaller vehicles, the cost doesn't justify.
Okay. I think we can go for 4-wheelers. It can be justified.
Yes.
Sir, there was one more question in the thing, sir. Vinod Kumar Murugan sir asked the question. In mountain slope area where battery will take more consumption, whether he is asking whether in mountain slope whether consumption of power is more or not, is asking, sir.
Yeah, so basically the power required equation itself has a particular portion for the grade that we are climbing. So grade is going to definitely have a larger portion of the power consumed. So if it is 0 degrees, you can move at a larger speed, as well as the power consumed is also lesser. So once you get into a mountain hilly areas, the battery will be consumed more.
Okay. So thank you, sir. Any more question from the audience? We are already. Oh, sir, there was a question from Dr. Isaac, sir. From academic point of view, can you suggest testing equipments for students to do experiment or procure EV test bench to create consultancy in universities or colleges?
So we are actually doing it along with one college in Coimbatore, where we have designed their entire EV curriculum, plus we have also given them a list of equipment that they need in the labs, how it can be utilized, how they can be trained, and we are working along with them. So we are open to such kind of partnerships.
I say, sir, I hope you got the answer for this question, for your question, I think.
Sir, can you name it, sir, the college, if you don't mind?
Since it is under the MOU signing process, we might not be able to tell upfront. So we'll definitely announce it within a week's time.
Okay.
So there was asking your contact details, something, I think. Can you please share? Okay, thank you. Okay. So any more technical questions, audience? If you are most welcome. I hope that this session went a lot of interaction by discussing the technicals and other aspects. Any more audience? We can wind up by having the last question from your end.
Hello, sir.
Santosh Kumar, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. My question is that in the two-wheeler segment, we have so many companies like Indian company and foreign companies also. They are providing e-bikes, cycles, e-cycles. So and they're more focusing on the aesthetic and the ergonomic point of view, the looks they are providing, because most of the young generation is only they are attracting the young people. So, but your e-bike is like it is maybe technically very sound, very good. It do not. I think it will not attract the young crowd. So, how to like convince the young people that you should go for the quality, not for the looks?
Yeah, so one, we design and build a product for 70% of Indians who are still in the poverty line, where it's more than urban. We are into rural areas. There are a lot of requirements in rural areas, and people are aspiring for an electric vehicle in rural areas. So that was the initial thought. The second one is it depends on cost benefit analysis that a person is ready to do. So attractive design is one thing which comes with a cost. So we have people from Microsoft using these vehicles, people from say Bangalore city using these vehicles. Even though the looks, I would also agree that it is not so great compared to the kind of designs that we are seeing in the market. So looks, we always have a kind of this thing to make where we should either go for looks or either go for a utility point of view plus a larger range. So we definitely looked at these two, and then there was no vehicle which is giving this utility at this price point. That was the way of convincing the youngsters also. The youngsters, people who are giving importance to looks, they have their point, but we are not targeting those people directly. So we have a lot of other people who are looking at the utility of the product. So from our experiments, and every automotive company will always agree that you cannot build a vehicle for everyone. You have to choose your segment and then start building the vehicle for them. So our vehicle philosophy was people who want to go to their office comfortably without pedaling, with a pure electric vehicle at the lowest possible cost available. So this problem statement is what we are trying to solve with this product. And some of the people are there who want more aesthetic look. So we are coming up with new products which will have aesthetics. At the same time, the cost also goes high. So we will have variants of these products.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, I asked this question only because my younger brother, who is college going student, and he has been searching for e-bikes from last like 10 to 15 days. And he is only focusing on the looks, and you can understand the college students. So that's why I asked this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I was about to ask that question. Santosh Kumar, sir, you have been asked the thing. So actually, when you are, it is my final question for the thing, sir. Actually, when you are building the thing, you said right word. Every automotive company will not target difficult to satisfy all types of customer. What I say is correct. So actually, when I'm seeing that Pipebeam, I'm also got impressed. Even I also, as a team, we also ordered one vehicle from our institute. So very this thing. So as from your point of view, how it is, because you have been having the customer taste will be vary from state to state. So how it is getting when you are making your vehicle, how it is getting response from the customer? What kind of customers are getting showing interest towards your product, sir?
So we have got people like people in all ages who have bought this vehicle. So we have got school students, we have got college students. So school students, it is a upgrade from a cycle to a electric bike, which doesn't require a license or registration. For college students, people who are in other cities, so they can't take their bike and come to a different city. It costs them, as well as it is difficult for maintaining a bike in a different city. So you have to change the registration. A lot of issues connected with registration is there. So for those people who are studying outside in colleges, these vehicles can be used for going around the city and go with friends. So this is one kind of customers we are getting. For office goers, we have people who are staying closer to the office and who doesn't want to take a larger vehicle and move because of traffic. So Bangalore, we have been getting a lot of responses, majorly because it's the traffic. So these vehicles can be run on any place. So you don't have a restriction of traffic rules also. So you have to basically follow the pedestrian rules. So you can stop the vehicle just, and since it is light, you can actually walk along with the vehicle and cross the road if the traffic lights are on, right? So it is not going to be very hard to push the vehicle.
Okay.
So these are current customers, and then we have people who are buying these vehicles for their dad. Okay, so they don't want the old people to drive fast or use a 125, 150cc vehicles. So this is one major category of orders that we have got, where they want their old dad or mom to use this vehicle to move from, and they are not going to travel a large distance also. So these are vehicles, they can use it in the neighborhood areas. So we have all different kinds of customers.
Okay. So when you're saying about registration problems, actually, since you have been, there is no any license required for the thing, then why again there is a registration issue will be coming when the person is going to take his vehicle from one state to other state?
So in the normal electric, not electric, the other bikes, no, they a Tamil Nadu registered bike cannot run on a Karnataka state unless the registration is changed. For 6 months you can do that, but after that you have to change the registration. But for this vehicle, there is no registration required, so you can take it anywhere.
Sir, actually, it is. One more thing. I'm having this thing. Whether, frankly speaking, in the thing, government is saying that there was a subsidy part is there. So whether government is paying any subsidy for this kind of two-wheeler segment, sir, because four-wheeler in car we are getting. Tata is giving the subsidy of around for Tata Tigor there is a subsidy of 1 lakh. So what about in two-wheeler segment? What kind of subsidies?
In two-wheeler, if the speed is above 40 kilometers, there's a subsidy. Otherwise, there is zero subsidy now.
Okay, so there was no any more final question from the audience. So we have been had the detailed discussion. Any more things you want to ask it? You can most welcome. We can take the final question for the day. So I think there was no any question from the audience, sir, because it is a time for me to propose a vote of thanks for the thing. So thank you, sir. Thank you once again. I understand that being the CEO of the company, you will have a number of work to be executed at your end. In spite of your busy schedule, you came forward and given your valuable time with us. And been almost 1.5 hours, you have been having the healthy discussion about the EV technology. What is your practical difficulties and what are the milestones or what are the adults as an entrepreneur you are facing? You have been shared with us, and thank you, sir. Thank you for giving your time for us and giving the thing. And we had a very beautiful discussion for almost 40 minutes. We have been having a discussion about the questions which have been asked by our participant. Definitely a lot of things they were asking about the battery management system, vehicle usage, and as well as how it can be customized for the college student. Testing, everything has been discussed in fruitful manner. Definitely your input and your knowledge, what have been shared during this discussion, definitely our participants got very valuable input from your experience, sir. So on behalf of NSIC Technical Service Center Hyderabad, I was wholeheartedly thanking you, sir, for sparing your valuable time with us and shown your active participating and sharing your valuable knowledge with us. And thank you, sir, once again for giving your valuable time with us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can we post once again, sir, because
We'll
it
post.
is not
Yes, sir.
accessible. Please
Right,
post once
ma'am.
again.
Balaji Garu, can you post the feedback link? Sir, actually, feedback link is given, sir.
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir. Thank you, sir.
You are from which college, sir?
Sir, from Bangalore, sir. It is Geetham University.
Oh, okay. Very good, sir. Okay. You are representing Geetham University. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So again, the next session is 2:30, no, sir?
2:30. The next session will be start by 2:30. So there was enough time is there.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
How you are feeling, sir? This FTP, how we are getting, sir? Any input, sir?
Sir, before this work FDP, so I feel that it is like other FDPs what I have attended normally, but after that I have get lot of exposure about the new trends and technologies and what is currently happening in various locations, especially.
Sir, could you please share the links?
Yes, sir. I'll share the Debashi, sir. I'll share it. Actually, Yogesh Kumar sir was saying something. I was listening to him. Logesh sir, you can continue.
Yes, sir. So one more thing is the opportunities, especially. So because I'm basically background of electrical engineering, so I am looking for the what are the scopes and business opportunities for future trends.
Okay.
So I have a lot of exposures about the various experts, the higher officials who are having the CEOs and research who are working in the research trends. So a lot of exposures we are given, sir. So after attending this, I'm eagerly waiting for what I learned from coming 2 days.
Oh, very good, sir. Very good. So it make you to, because we make ensure that the what are the best thing we want to give it in the FDP. That's the reason our team has been working, sir. So that I am also fully.
I am very happy, sir, because each and every member who are organizing this event from your end, I am very appreciating your efforts, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for this valuable feedback.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, could you please give that feedback from
feedback link, sir?
Yes, sir.
Balaji, you are requested to give post the feedback. Balaji.
So because it's we are having a network problem over here. I am getting disconnected again and again.
Okay. No, we understood, sir, because these are the practical difficulties will happen when you are in this thing. So Debashi sir, you are from where, sir? You which college, sir? You are from?
Sir, I am from West Bengal Academy of Technology.
Okay.
So means I have attended a few more FDP programs through this Atal scheme also. This is the means in this session I have means registered for 4 such. This one is the second one. In the previous week I had gone for a session from NIT Durgapur on waste management. But truly speaking, sir, this one is really a great one.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving a comment, sir.
Okay,
So
sir, could you please tell me the name of sir who has just given this session right now?
No, sir.
I forgot his name, sir.
Sir, no, sir.
The morning session. Sir, the morning session was given by Mr. K.M. Prasanna Kumaran and
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Speaker is a Prasanna Kumar and
Vaishak Sai Kumar.
Okay.
And second, right now, second session is given by Mr. Visagan Sai Kumar.
Thank you, sir. And sir, is there any change regarding these sessions regarding today or tomorrow, or the schedule is as you have given?
No, sir. Schedule is we are still whatever we have been given so far. Schedule has been not deviated. We have been strictly following the schedule which has been circulated to you, sir. No changes has been happened.
And truly speaking, sir, means I am very much interested regarding this because I want to implement these technologies amongst my college students also regarding these EVs and their modifications.
Okay.
And the presentations that are provided by the speakers are really great.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your compliments, sir. Definitely, we can. After, if you want any kind of technical support, definitely being a government institution, we can able to help you, sir, in regarding any kind of students projects. If you want any kind of sort of help, definitely we can.
Sir, how could I contact, sir?
I'll be sharing my because I'm the group now, sir. You can contact me, and you can give me this thing. You can refer. You can contact me through mail also, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Devashi, sir.